Howdy folks, G-Man here. I hope everybody is doing well. We are back. I don't want to get too into it because it's personal stuff, but I took a week off. I'm having some marital issues. I guess these things happen. Again, I don't want to get too into it just for my family's privacy's sake and my own sake, but you know, it's a bummer. I've had a great marriage for 7 years, and it's kind of up in the air right now. So I've been dealing with that. And you may recall I was bragging about how good the weather was for central Montana at the end of January. Well, we've gotten some pretty hard blows. I want to say a week ago today, which was Wednesday night, if you counted the wind factor or the wind chill, it felt like minus 48. So, yeah, that's cold. And if you're a San Diego beach bum, beach boy like me, that's very cold. And we got a lot of snow. So I spent a lot of time shoveling and snow plowing, actually. We've been having car issues as well. So yeah, just a lot of tests. You know, I'm really getting tested right now. But you know what? That's all right. Show must go on. I took a week off. Wah, wah, wah. It's done. We're going forward. Chris, homeboy Chris, didn't forget about you, dog. I'm gonna ship that vape to you. It's like I said, it's just been one hell of the past few weeks. As soon as I've got a few extra ducats to get that tank, I'm gonna get it sent to you, dog. I have not forgotten about you, and I was not just saying that to kiss your rear end. It's coming. So thank you for the patience. All right. So let's kick this off. Today's video is going to be a part 1 on a series of fentanyl analogues or fentalogs. Okay. I've been researching this, and it is unbelievable how many fentanyl analogues there are. Alright, so let's keep this in tradition, baby. We've got the drink. In fact, we've got 2 drinks. I've got my favorite Gatorade and one of my new favorites, Premier Protein. Your boy's been trying to get in shape. Anyways, we got the drinks. Check. I've got the vape. Check. And we got nice hair. And of course, my favorite shirt. Check. Alright. So, first of all, what is fentanyl? Alright. Fentanyl is an opioid analgesic that was first developed in the 1960s by a gentleman by the name of Paul Jassin. Okay? It is 50 times more potent than heroin on a milligram per milligram basis. Okay? In fact, fentanyl is so strong that it's typically not even measured in milligrams. It's typically measured in micrograms, okay? The stuff is no joke. Very potent. It's not taken orally. It is either used like Suboxone, like through a lollipop, or I imagine a dissolving strip. I don't know, but I do know that they have lollipops They come in patches that you put on your skin, and they also do it via injection, IV and IM, typically IV. Alright, it's oftentimes kind of described like the crack of the opiate world because it is very powerful, but it has a relatively short duration of action, being about 2 hours depending on the route of administration. Obviously, if you have a patch, it's gonna, last as long as the patch is supposed to last, so long as it is not tampered with. And again, I cannot stress enough how potent it is. So, I've been out of the dope game for a while. I'm still on methadone, but I have not sought drugs on the street for quite some time. And back when I was still using heroin, because of my proximity to Mexico, and because at the time the opioid epidemic in the United States was kind of just starting to come to fruition. So the heroin that I was getting, I'm relatively certain that it was heroin. A lot of it was sloppy synthesized heroin, so it was almost like a mix match of, diacetylmorphine, which is heroin, morphine, codeine, probably normorphine, nordiacetylmorphine, just like a slew of different powerful opiates. That's not always the case, and I'm not even sure that was the case. But just knowing where it came from and knowing how it came, it was probably almost like similar to opium in that it had probably multiple different active opiate chemicals, okay? But heroin is expensive to make because you have to grow the opium poppies. That takes time, labor, effort, weather conditions, knowledge, right? You have to harvest the opium, which again, human labor, knowledge, clandestine, secretiveness, weather factors, law enforcement, other drug cartels. It's hard. It's hard to produce it. And once you have the morphine, once you have the raw opium, you then have to refine it into morphine, or you have to refine the opium, and then you have to extract the morphine out of the opium, and then you have to diacetylate the morphine, which uses chemicals like anhydrous ammonia, which are not cheap and are controlled and can be difficult to find or come by, right? So heroin was difficult and expensive to make, so they started taking an interest in fentanyl, okay? The drug cartels and drug dealers I'm talking about. They started taking an interest in fentanyl because, one, it is so potent, so it's easier to smuggle because you can take so much less of the compound versus heroin. I mean, we're talking regular fentanyl is about 50 times stronger than heroin. So think about it. If you had 1 kilogram of heroin, right, you could reduce that in size by 50 times and still have the same potency in that package. You would then just have to cut it and voila, you know what I mean? It would be like trying to smuggle 1 Premier Protein Energy or Premier Protein Energy Shake across the border versus 50 of them. What's easier? Right. So what they started doing, the drug cartels and drug dealers, was they were ordering fentanyl from laboratories in China, and then taking God knows what and adding fentanyl to it and selling it as heroin. And people loved it because it was very potent, and the cartels loved it because it was cheaper and easier for them to get than producing the heroin. And the duration was shorter. The withdrawal syndrome were more intense. So people wanted more and more of the product. So it was kind of like a vicious circle, right? And, it really is a shame that it came to that, because fentanyl has actually killed, let me see, darn it, where are my darn notes? Fentanyl has killed, according to the NIH, since 2017, fentanyl is the most widely used fully synthetic opioid, fentanyl and its analogues, most widely used illicit synthetic opiate. And in 2016, fentanyl and fentanyl analogues caused over 20,000 fatal overdoses in the United States alone. 1 year, 20,000 deaths. Over 20,000 deaths. Okay? So this is very serious. All right. Now, eventually, the government, the DEA, and Interpol, and international drug control agencies caught on, and fentanyl became more restricted. The precursors used to make it became more restricted. So, rather than saying, oh, well, we tried, we can't make any more money on this, oh no, the cartels don't do that. What they decided to do was to hire Chinese chemists, or perhaps some of their own chemists, but I imagine they're mostly from China. Chinese are very smart. They've got great chemists. A lot of people talk shit about China's lab quality and stuff, and there's a lot of truth to that, but make no mistake about it, they're great chemists, they're great at math, they're a high IQ people, okay? But basically, the drug cartels wanted these labs to discover and produce the most potent fentanyl analogues that they could, okay? So, real quick, what is an analog, okay? An analog is a drug that is very structurally similar to another drug and has a very similar effects profile, okay? An example of this could be MDA versus MDMA, right? MDMA, oh, hold on. Okay, sorry guys, I thought you quit recording on me. MDMA is 3,4-methylene-dioxymethamphetamine, while MDA is 3,4-methylene-dioxyamphetamine, right? Very similar drugs, slightly different effect profile, but, most people given MDA instead of MDMA would probably not notice the difference, okay? That's how analogs work. And there are so many that we're going to have to break this video down into a few parts. This is just a real basic introduction to fentalogs, right? Fentanyl analogues, fentalogs, a basic introduction to how they came about, where they're headed, and the like. Okay, so a couple more well-known fentalogs would be ones like sufentanil, which is 250 times stronger than heroin. Okay? Yes, you heard me correct. Sufentanil, 250 times stronger than heroin. Guys, we're talking a grain of sand of this stuff will probably kill somebody who doesn't have a tolly, okay? And then there is carfentanil, which is 100 times stronger than heroin, okay? But it's crazy because you'll have sufentanil, which is 250 times stronger than heroin, and then you'll have one called N-methylnorcarfentanil, which is only slightly stronger than morphine, okay? N-methylnorcarfentanil is weaker than heroin, but sufentanil or carfentanil is 250 times and 100 times stronger than heroin, respectively, okay? So do you see the danger here? We're talking about one version, one analog of fentanyl that is literally weaker than heroin on a milligram to milligram basis. But then we have other ones like orthomethoxyfuranylfentanyl, which is 300 times stronger than heroin. Okay? Very dangerous stuff, all right? And I'm going to shoot off a couple more lists here, a couple more random names. The list is so long, it goes on and on and on. So I just wrote down some ones that the names were kind of catchy, all right? So here we go, in no particular order based on potency. A lot of them I could not even find the potency for. So I just wanted to show an example of how broad the number of fentalogs out there are, okay? Let's get started. 2,5-dimethylfentanyl, 2,2-difluorofentanyl, 3-allylfentanyl, 3-fluorofentanyl, 3-methylbuterfentanyl. Next is 4-chloroisobuterfentanyl, and then carfentanil, orthomethoxyfuranylfentanyl, trifentanil, methoxyacetylfentanyl, N-methoxynorcarfentanil, sufentanil, and yeah, you guys get the drift. And remember, they range from weaker than heroin to 300 times stronger than heroin, okay? And think about measuring. How are you going to measure something for a proper dose that's 300 and something times stronger than pure heroin? You know, I mean, you're not. There's the key phrase, you're not. And what's scary is some of these drugs are so potent that Narcan can't save you. They have too much binding affinity to the opioid receptor sites in your neurons that even multiple shots of Narcan, and I'm not even talking the nasal shots, okay? I'm talking direct IV injection of Narcan. It won't save you. The shit is just too powerful. There used to be a time not too long ago where you didn't even have to go on the deep web to find some of these fentanyl analogs for sale. Luckily, that is not so much the case anymore, okay? And they do make fentanyl testing kits, where you can reasonably assume that if it's fentanyl or a fentanyl analog in your dope or pills, it will be discovered, okay? Also, don't think it's just heroin, okay? I'm going to tell you guys a quick little secret. People are putting these fentanyl analogs inside of kratom capsules. They're pressing them into pills to make them look like an actual pill from a pharmacy, but it's actually fentanyl or a fentanyl analog. This was a big problem for the OC80s and the OP80s in southern Canada along the border, in the northern US along the border for some time, okay? If you're interested in that, I believe there's a Vice documentary about fentanyl addiction, and this was before Vice went belly up into their anti-white PC garbage that they are now. It was still a good documentary. Guys, there's so much more I want to touch on with this stuff. I'm going to try to discover where you can get a test kit to test your drugs for fentanyl or fentanyl analogs before using. There's definitely going to have to be a part 2. I got even more announcements I want to get to, but I got to cut this short for now. Stay safe. I've heard most dope these days has fentanyl in it, or a fentanyl analog, a fentalog. Be careful, people. Thanks for rocking with me. Head up, eyes on the prize. Do you, be safe, God bless. G-Man, logging out.